I stopped the car without pulling over. I didn't pull over. I mean, I'm in the middle of the street and I just stopped. And I said, get out. I wanted you and Herman to open the doors, open your respective doors, and just leave me so I could drive off and go home.
What is something that you wish that you would have done different?
Oh, gosh. I was hoping you wouldn't ask me that. But what I regret is that you and Herman had to endure.
Hey everybody, welcome back to a very, very special episode of the Get Busy podcast. As you can see, Izzy's not here. This young lady sitting over to my left is my mother, Alexis Jones. Say hello to the people.
Hello, everybody. Good to be here. I'm so excited.
Good. I'm glad you're excited.
Yes, I've been begging for this for a long time.
She hasn't been begging. She asked
Yeah,
a while ago.
It was a long while ago.
Okay, it was a long while ago. Me and Izzy were still trying to get established and get things rolling. And then, I think when you asked me, my initial thought was, okay, what are we going to talk about? Because everything's about content. And so,
Yeah, but I was thinking we have a whole lifetime to talk about. We have 43 years of stuff to talk about. So I didn't get that. But anyway.
44, but thank you.
You're 44?
I am 44.
Oh my gosh, I can't keep up with all this. Can't keep up.
Yeah. So I think my initial thought was a Mother's Day episode would be really cool, but it was a long ways away.
Yes.
But that time seemed to get here really quickly.
Yes.
At least in my eyes. So we're here.
We're here.
So welcome.
Thank you.
All right.
Good to be in the studio.
Good.
I
I'm
like
glad.
it.
I cleaned up for you.
You cleaned up. I know I was going to wear something really fancy. And then I said, oh, he's going to have on a T-shirt or some sweats. And look at you. You put on a nice shirt.
Nice shirt. Got my khakis on.
I need to go change.
Got my nice shoes on.
Yeah.
Put some lotion on my ankles just in case.
Wow, you do. Your ankles are nice and shiny.
They're very shiny.
They look like Vaseline.
It's shea butter, actually.
Oh, okay.
I've graduated from Vaseline. Yeah, we have a little bit of money now, so it's all shea butter.
All right.
Okay, so, Mom.
Yes.
Let's talk about your childhood from the beginning. Tell me about, just tell me briefly about your childhood and then tell me a little bit about your mother, who I know as Grandma Mary, who you know as your mom.
Yeah, I want to say before we get started, I'm sorry you didn't get a chance to meet her.
Yeah.
Your audience may not know that my mom passed away when before Brandon and Herman were born. I was actually pregnant with Herman when she passed away, so you all didn't get a chance to meet her. Now, childhood was an adventure. My mom was a risk taker.
Okay.
So she is the only one in a family of 8 girls and 4 boys that decided to start her own business. And she's the one who actually went out and recruited or grabbed or coerced Aunt Catherine to go into business with her. So she was very determined. She was very courageous. And she did this with not a lot of education or resources. Mm-hmm. I don't think they had $200 between them when they started. And they started in the kitchen. They were both doing hair in their kitchens. They'd wash hair or shampoo hair over the sink, and they used the eyes on the stove to heat the curling irons or straightening combs, and that's where they did hair. Now the environment was pretty abusive because my dad was abusive to her, and he did not want her working. And so she would do it anyway. Aunt Catherine's husband didn't want her working, especially going into business in that kind of an independent way. So they were both fighting at home and then trying to start a business at the same time. And we witnessed that. We didn't understand it all until later, but we witnessed that living in that kind of environment, it was obvious that it was abusive. And so there were times when I remember one time in particular, I don't know how old I was. Maybe I was around Genesis age, 7. And my mom and dad were in the basement, and somehow he was hurting her. I just heard the noise, and it frightened me. And I ran upstairs, and I tried to call 911. I think I probably pushed operator. And all I remember is saying that my dad is trying to hurt my mom. My dad is trying to hurt my mom. And that's all I remember. So it was, they ended up getting a divorce. But the difficulty continued because she was working long hours, like 12 or more hours a day. So I was home alone a lot. My brother, your uncle, he was 2 years older than me. So he passed away when he was 10 and I was 8. So during that, after he had passed, I was home alone. I was home alone because my mom was working these very long hours just trying to provide. And she provided. I mean, I went to college and all of my needs were met. I had clothes, I had food and all of that. But it was at great cost because she was not present. The only days that I saw her were Mondays and Sundays. She didn't work on Sundays. She worked all day, maybe 15 hours on Saturdays. And on Mondays, the shop was closed. My mom was a hairstylist. We called it beautician back in the day. And so I remember running home from school because Mama was going to be home. That was the only day I didn't have to run home to an empty house. And then I'd get there and you'd smell food cooking in the kitchen and all those things that you wish you could enjoy every day. I enjoyed on Mondays. And the other thing I want to say about her is she was a really strict disciplinarian. She was so strict that she was like boot camp for the cousins in my family whose moms were having trouble with them. I remember my Aunt Elizabeth, who lives here in Atlanta. We were in Cleveland at the time, of course. She would send her son Winston to Cleveland so that Aunt Mary can straighten him out. And I mean, I'll tell you a funny incident. So he went to a party and she gave him a curfew. All of us had these ridiculous curfews. This is when we started going up.
Okay, so what's a ridiculous curfew?
Okay, 10 o'clock.
Sounds familiar. Okay, continue with
Yeah, I
your story.
mean, like mama, like daughter, like daughter. Anyway, we'll get into that later. You can only do what you know. But anyway, so this is a young man, not in school, young man, and she told him, you better be home at whatever the time was. It was really pretty ridiculous. And he got to a party and he didn't get home. She said she was going to put him out if he didn't get home in time. She put all of his stuff on the porch.
Oh, wow.
And locked the door. He couldn't get in.
Wow.
And then there was another time that he didn't come home, and she knew where he was. He was at a house party not far from where we lived. And she drove there. I was in the car with her. So we're parked across the street. We're looking at the house. The door is open. All we see is a sea of people and a house full of smoke. You couldn't even see for the smoke.
Yeah.
And so Mama said, I'll be right back. I said, I know you're not going in that house. She said, I'm going in that house. She got out. She went in that house, and I was sitting there on pins and needles like, oh, that is dangerous. But she's just like, nobody should go into that.
Right.
That looked like,
Yeah.
And so A few minutes later, she came out and he was walking behind her. And he's looking, like this.
Yeah.
I mean, she was really bold, and she just had this determination. Although she wasn't present, she was determined that we needed to be okay. That she needed to make sure that we were safe, that we were educated, that we were provided for. But the daily nurturing that a child needs, I didn't get that.
Yeah.
We didn't get that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So through the years of, your mom raising you, what were some things that you learned from her, some lessons you learned from your mother, like life lessons?
Okay. So one of the things that I remember she used to say was, you can count really good friends on one hand. There's these little nuggets that I remember. In other words, she was saying, you're not good friends, real friends don't come in large numbers. You're only going to be able to count them on less than a hand. And so I remembered that. And the other thing was, when you don't know what to do, don't do anything. There are a few things. Now, you know how you just don't listen to your mother. You know about that. You know about this.
I don't know what
you
you're
have
talking about.
Experience with this.
Okay.
Until things kick in later, right?
Yeah,
Then
yeah.
it makes sense. So she would say, so even now, we're faced with all these decisions in life. Some of them are huge decisions. They're very important decisions that require a lot of contemplation. But then there's just a minor thing. Should I do this? Should I buy that? Should I go here? But when I get to a place where I'm really not sure what to do, I sleep on it. If at all possible, I sleep on it, or at least give some space, because then I can see things more clearly. But I got that from her.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but then there are the negative things. Like, I think she was too unreasonable as a disciplinarian. I really do. And I think a lot of the things that I did, that I just... because she did. I thought, what else can I do? That's all
That's
I
a
know.
great idea. I hated it. I'm going to do the same thing. Okay.
That makes sense what you just said, but that's not how I saw it. That's all you know. That's all you know. And whether it was good or not, whether it was hurtful or not, harmful or not, you end up repeating it. So a lot of the things that she did that were hurtful and harmful to me, I repeated those things, because even though they were harmful, what else? What else can I draw from?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So fast forward.
I want to tell you one good thing about her. She
Okay.
was a good athlete.
Really?
I don't think I've ever told you that.
No, you've never told me that.
She played like a boy.
Okay. So what did
She
she play?
did baseball.
Okay.
At the family reunions, family picnics, or the church picnics, she could hit a ball out the park.
Really?
Yes. I did not inherit that, of course.
Wow.
But she played like a man. She was very athletic, very strong.
Do you know she played like organized sports like when she was in school? Or was it just...
We're on survival mode, Brandon. We haven't
I don't wanna-
organized. We work. We try to provide
Y'all
for our
running
children.
from the police dogs and the fire hoses, jumping fences.
Yeah, we played with the fire hoses. I mean, we organized sports. That
Yeah.
didn't come until you and Herman were born.
Okay.
And no,
My bad. I didn't. Okay.
that was a luxury. We were on survival mode.
Gotcha.
Eat,
Okay.
sleep, try to stay out of trouble.
Okay.
Get
Okay.
an education.
Okay. All right. So fast forward years later. Tell me what it was like when you found out that you were going to be a mom for the first time.
I don't remember. I know I was excited. I was excited. And here's what I remember. I remember thinking, I want to have children, but please don't let me have girls.
Really? Why?
I didn't want anybody to give me the same kind of a hard time that I gave my mom.
Oh, okay. Wow.
I thought if I had a girl, she would do to me what I did to my mom.
Okay.
So
That
let me
makes
have
sense.
boys. It'll be safer, you know. And so when Herman was born, I was excited. I had that boy, but I changed my mind. When I was pregnant with you, I wanted a girl. I wanted a girl, and when you came out with all that hair, I thought I had achieved it. Here comes a girl. And then they said, I remember the doctor said, "Nope, go grab the blue blanket." I Because it was this game he played. You want blue or you want pink?
Yeah.
I want pink. I want pink. Sorry, go get the blue blanket.
Wow. Sorry to disappoint, but God's plan.
Yeah. But I was excited. It was harder than I thought.
Yeah.
It was hard. It's being a parent. You're a parent now.
Okay.
Being a parent is hard, right?
Yes.
It's difficult. It's
Yes.
exhausting. And you got to provide. You got to make sure they get the education. It's that daily responsibilities, that daily grind when you've got children. And you're trying to hold everything up, and then something slips and falls, and you're trying to patch that, and then something else falls apart. And I remember when you and Herman were growing up, I was in graduate school as well, so I was trying to juggle a lot, kind of like my mom, different responsibilities, but the same premise was that I was so busy that sometimes I felt like I wasn't there as much as I wanted. I wanted to be a calm, nurturing, go to the games and not worry about anything kind of parent. But that was not the case.
Yeah.
That was not the case. However, y'all were great kids. Y'all were great kids. I mean, I couldn't have asked for anyone better, because the things that you got into trouble about were things like, go clean up your room. That room is a filthy mess. Go clean up your room. Have you taken a shower? Where did you do your homework? Where is the paper? In fact, I remember my major frustration is when you all rode to school with me. So I'm an educator. You all attended school where I worked. So I couldn't even get rid of you in the morning.
Oh, that was frustrating for you?
Oh, yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Were you frustrated? You shouldn't have been.
Every single day of middle school, somebody found out, oh, Miss Jones, the administrator, is your mom?
Okay, let me just say this. I've never been so rejected in my life. Rejection personified. Because I'd walk down the hall one way and see you. You'd come the opposite way. You had to see me. We were locking eyes, and you would turn your head like you didn't know me.
See, you didn't understand the
pressure.
pressures of a middle schooler. That's like being a gang member and you're friends with the cop. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't let people know that you're my mom and that we're cool.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that was very difficult, because it was a lot of pressure on me, because the teachers, and you know this, and because they come to you like, okay, if he gets into trouble, how should we discipline?
Right.
You were kind of like how Deion Sanders is to his kids. He doesn't treat them special. Like, in fact, he's harder on his kids than he is on the rest of the football team. That's how you were.
Yes.
But the teachers, little sly remarks, saying like, let me go tell your mama, like, because she's down the hallway type of stuff. And so I
didn't like that, Brandon.
Yeah, I know you didn't.
I didn't want you all treated differently.
Yeah. No,
And
I know.
I really did. I thought that was fun. That was one of the funnier things about you, that I remember how you actually disowned me when we were in the school. But I did understand it so much. And so I tell the teachers too, don't do that.
So
don't do that.
It got easier when some of the kids, because you treated a lot of the kids, especially like the black kids, because, in the 90s, Gwinnett County, a lot of racism, kids felt it, you felt it.
Yes.
It was what it was. So you treated a lot of those black kids, and some of them who would get in trouble, repeatedly get in trouble, you would treat them like your kid.
I did.
And so when you're that age, you know when a grown up likes you or doesn't like you.
You do.
You just have that innate like thing. And so they knew that you loved them. And like, so a lot of the kids were like really cool with you. Even the ones you were disciplined, like it was only, I could maybe count on one couple of fingers where like I got a little bit of heat from somebody who got in trouble by, because of you, by you.
Right.
But the majority of it, people loved you, and that actually made it a lot easier during that time because you were like a mom or auntie to a lot of those kids, and they were.
I didn't really know that.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard you say that.
Yeah.
But you're right. I really cared about those kids. And I think, I believe you're right. Kids know when you genuinely care.
Yeah.
Even if you're fussing at them or saying, why in the world would you? So you get over there and sit down, and I don't mean you better not, all that I do. Well, the way I spoke to you all at home was the same way I spoke to them at school. And I do believe they knew that I cared, but I didn't know the impact that it had on you.
Yeah. So it was hard, and but it wasn't always hard because of that, So okay. Oh, so when you said we're really me and Herman were both good kids, like who was the gooder? Who's the gooder of the kids?
The gooderer. Well, probably Herman.
Okay. All right, thanks, guys. We'll see y'all later.
Because, I don't remember Herman totaling my car. Seemed like that was a Brandon thing.
Okay, so let me explain that.
Let me set it up, and then you can explain. So Brandon probably was a senior playing football around this time.
Yes.
And we as parents, especially moms, especially single moms, we are petrified because we know what happens when young black boys are stopped by the police. It is a fear that we've always had and always will have. We know, and so I had this whole scenario played out in my mind that you'd be in the car with a few of your friends, and you all would be laughing and enjoying each other, and the music would be up loud, and y'all would just be singing and all the things that kids do. That's really okay, but a cop is going to pull you over. Maybe for no reason, maybe because you're speeding, maybe you forgot to signal. Anyway, a cop is going to pull you over.
Yeah.
And all I saw in my mother's mind is everything going south.
Yeah.
That's, the worst case scenario. And so I said, you may not have anybody else in the car with you. You cannot drive your friends any place. You can't take them home. You can't give anybody a ride. Nobody. And it was because of that fear. And then I'm gonna give you a chance to explain your side of the story.
Okay.
But I have to tell this story. When I think you had a game or a practice. It was a practice, so you were late coming home, and I'm at home, and I think every mother worries when their children are away from home, because you just think all kinds of things could happen, especially when you get older and you're more independent. So you didn't come home on time after practice, and I'm kind of pacing. I remember pacing, and we didn't have cell phones back at that time.
Yeah.
And then I get a call, and it's a police officer. And he says, Miss Jones, your son Brandon has been in an accident. I wish you could have seen me. I was in a fetal position on the floor next to my bed.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what he's going to say next. But then he says, he's okay, and I'm going to bring him home. Even though he said you were okay, I couldn't just, okay, we're okay. I had to see you. I had to hear you. And so I stayed in that fetal position until the doorbell rang.
Yeah.
Doorbell rang. I went to the door, and it was the police. I think you were in front of the police officer. And you had this look on your face that you've only had a few times in your lifetime. It's like, oh my God. I don't know what you were thinking. Like, I'm glad I didn't get hurt in the accident, or my mother's going to hurt me. I don't know which one.
The second one. But yeah.
But I was petrified. And so the car was totaled. The car was totaled. But go ahead, tell your side of the story.
Yeah, so...
But before you tell your story, the car was totaled. I just want to say that one more time. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
The car was totaled. Okay, so after football practice, kids, there was only a few kids on the football team that had cars. And the coaches weren't taking all, they might take a kid or two, but it's a big football team. It's like 50 kids, right? And so you got home, you had to rely on, most people didn't have parents that could come pick them up or whatever, but they had to get a ride home from a fellow teammate. And so it was a 1993 Mitsubishi Galant.
Yeah.
Man, I love that car.
That was a cool car.
It was. And so, Herman had it first, and then he went off to college, and then I got it. I was off the school bus, playing football. I'm a senior. I got a car. Life is looking pretty. It's, I'm trending up right now, popularity and all that kind of stuff. And so, my friends would need a ride. And the only person that you allowed me to take home was Terrence.
Oh, that's right.
Because you knew Terrence, you knew, his aunt and uncle, and, he was like, another brother. He was like a second son or third son of you. And so, I'll take Terrence home, but other people, hey, Brandon, can I get it? And I have to explain to him, like, man, I can't. I'm sorry. Sometimes I did just because people just needed to get home. Like, they didn't have a ride home. And I've always been an empath, like, my whole life. Like, I'm always looking out and seeing,
true.
people who are in need. And so my friend Ricky, he needed a ride. I'd tell him, man, I can't do it, man. I'm sorry. And I didn't know where he lived. But when I was driving home, I saw him walking. He was walking along a path. It was a long walk. So when I saw him, I was like, wow, he lives all the way. He walked. I was thinking like, that's Ricky and he walked this far? Boom. Right then, like rear-ended this lady. And
I didn't know that's how that happened.
yeah. Because I saw Ricky and I was like, I can't believe you walked this far. Like, I feel so bad. Boom. And I was just looking at him and I wasn't paying attention to the front. So the lady's car, older lady, she wasn't old, but she seemed fine. We're both okay. My car was all smashed in the front. Her car looked like, usually how that happens, like the back of the person car that you hit doesn't sustain that much damage, seemingly. But again, that car was, totaled. And first thing on my mind, like, I was like, oh my God. Like, I was very aware of things cost money and that this car was a sacrifice.
Yeah.
And we didn't have, like, I was very aware of like grown up situations, like how, you're paying this, you're paying that, you got a little bit of money. I knew that the insurance went up because you got a teenage boy driving the car and that costs way more than any other category of person who drives a car. Like, I know all this stuff.
Yeah.
And, I was just petrified. I was like, oh my God, this money. Like, and then like, I didn't even know how really insurance worked. It's like, we got to pay for her car. She, she paid for this car. I didn't know if it was paid off or whatever. I just knew like, this is going to be a bad money situation. And my mom is, she ain't got it like that. She's going to be upset and angry. So I was very scared. And then, and so the worst, and then, after the next day, I'm back on the school bus with all the other losers, so that did not feel good at all. So I felt terrible.
Yeah.
And then I was a little bit angry at you because had I been allowed to take Ricky home, I wouldn't have gotten into that car accident. That's what I was thinking. You know what I'm saying? And so I could have helped somebody. I would have had my car, blase, but.
And I thought all these years that, because you are an empathetic person and you're a people person, so you even attracted a lot of friends. I thought that he asked and you just couldn't say no because you realized maybe I thought you realized he had a long way to go. I don't know, but you just didn't have the heart to say no. So you said, I'll just do it this one time.
Yeah.
And I thought that's how it ended up happening.
Yeah, it was in the car, like fooling around or playing and being boys.
Yeah.
Nah, that's how it happened.
Wow.
So, life be lifing.
Life be lifing, for sure.
Okay, so question. Mm-hmm. When I was born, how did you choose my name?
Okay. Well, the first choice was
Herman's was easy. That's what I'm skipping. Herman was named after his dad.
Yes. However, I did name him after your dad, and I would have done it anyway. But I wanted a name that meant something because I had learned that what you call a person is who they become.
Okay.
So it was really important to me not to just choose any old name that I just kind of happened to like. I wanted it to speak into you all's lives. Now Herman's name means warrior, and it means protector. And he even had his Gmail account set up, Anointed Warrior 18 for the size of his shoe at Gmail, and he just kept that. So it was almost
I never knew that. Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. He knew it. He wanted to know just like you, and he stayed married to that thought that this is who I am, a warrior. And he was a silent, gentle kind of a warrior. He wore it in the spirit. But anyway, it is interesting that you ended up having the characteristics, at least the external characteristics of a protector and a defender. That's a story we may or may not talk about. But so when I was my mom wanted me. No, that was Jimmy. Let me not get the children mixed up. Okay, so when I was choosing your name, I was looking in the book of names and what they meant, and I liked the name Jeffrey, which is your middle name, and Jeffrey meant peace. It meant peace, and I liked that. So I chose.
I hate that name, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm so glad it's not my first name.
Well, first it was going to be, I wanted Brandon Jeffrey Jones. And, we went to church before you were christened, the first lady of the church where we were attended saying, oh, you should call him Jeffrey Brandon Jones. I was like, I don't like that name. But anyway, Jeffrey means peace. Brandon was just a name that I liked. I don't think I chose that for a deep meaning.
Okay.
I just liked it. So it was Brandon Jeffrey Jones. That's how he came up with that name.
Okay. I'll take it. That's cool. That's cool. Okay, so what is a memory of me as a baby or young child that always makes you smile?
Well, first of all, you've always had this dry sense of humor. Every time I talked about you as a kid, you'd say these funny things or these jokes that are subtle that you really have to listen to in order to know he made it funny. That was funny. That was kind of fun. There might be this delayed reaction.
Yeah.
But you just were naturally funny. I was thinking like this kid could be a comedian. So you were just naturally funny, and the funny things are the things that I kind of already shared. Now, some things were not funny then, but are funny now, right?
Okay.
That we laugh about now.
Yeah.
Okay, for example, when you all rode to school with me, you would fight. You and Herman would fight. And so everybody wanted to jockey for the front passenger seat.
Oh, yeah.
So I tried to have you take turns, but you all would argue about that. I mean, the worst problem I had with you and Herman was the fighting, the arguing. You didn't physically fight. I meant the arguing. It was like, it was nonstop. And I remember many times saying, you go to your corner, you go to your corner. But anyway, this one time we were driving, I think we were driving home from school. Now I'm tired. And I don't remember what street. We were in Cleveland. I don't think we were here, but we could have been. It was a long, long time. You were in elementary school, I'll say that. And so you fought over the front passenger seat, and I was tired. I didn't feel like hearing all that, so I stuck both of you all in the back seat. What did I do that for? Oh my God. And then it just got worse and more intense.
Yeah.
I stopped the car without pulling over. I didn't pull over. I mean, I'm in the middle of the street and I just stopped and I said, "Get out." I was not smiling. I was so serious. I wanted you and Herman to open your respective doors, and just leave me so I could drive off and go home. I was so serious, Brandon. I was so serious. And you all of a sudden, all that noise stopped. You all like, is she really gonna put us out?
Yeah.
I don't know how long I stayed there.
That's that Grandma Mary. Put us out, lock the doors.
I was going to lock the doors and just drive off into peace. I just wanted you all gone, but I laugh about that a lot. And I tell the story to my friends a lot too when they say that. And let's see, with some other things I wanted to mention. It'll come back to me, but that was one of the things that, you know what I think about more now. I think more than there was a lot of funny things, but more I think about the really touching things that you did, both of you. But you, because you were you gave. You know, everybody has their own love language, and you would make all these cards and write these letters, and I have letters that you wrote on Mother's Day when you were in 4th grade. I still have those kinds. Remember the cards you made for me with the pen?
One.
Yeah,
Yep.
I was trying to find it this morning because I didn't have time to look for it. But I remember saying, "Brenda, don't ever buy me a card. Just keep making them." And you said, "Mom, that's not going to happen." So
It's a lot of work.
yeah. So anyway, a lot of the things that you made me and said to me in those letters, they were priceless. I could put those in a book. And you were a young adult, but this is what's coming to mind as my memories. I have these fond memories, is that we, for many years, I don't know how many years, you might remember, we did the Peachtree Road race together. Mm-hmm. I don't remember how many years, but we started running that race together.
Yeah.
We were both trained, sometimes together, sometimes separately, but we were committed to doing that Peachtree Road race. And of course, you would take off running. I might take off running, but then I'd end up walking. But we'd meet at Piedmont Park, and it was just this special thing that you and I did together that we were committed to. And there was one year that things were so hectic because you had started having children by this time, and you couldn't train.
Yeah.
But you didn't want to give up that commitment that we had made and that tradition. So you came anyway, and I was kind of glad because you had to stay with me the whole race. I don't know if you remember.
I don't remember that.
I coached you through that whole race. I said, "Okay, Brandon, this is the way we're going to do it. We're going to run for 2 minutes, and we're going to walk for a minute." And that's what we did, because that's how I trained. And you didn't have a chance to train.
Yeah.
And so we stayed together. That was the only race out of all those years that we were together. So I was so tickled that we could do that one together. Yeah, but it meant a lot that we did that race together. It was something unique for just the two of us. And then we'd meet at the park, and the night before you'd come over and either spend the night, or we spent the night in a hotel. We started going to a hotel closer to the start line.
Right.
And that was nice. So we would meet and we would eat. We would get carved up for the next day.
Get some pancakes or something. Yep.
And then we would do that. I think another funny thing is when you were in, we went to Hopewell Baptist Church, and I made you sing in the choir, and you didn't want to sing in the choir. Or you worked at it wasn't Trader Joe's. What was the name of that farmer's?
Harry's Farmer's Market.
Harry's Farmer's Market. And you did stocking, and then you did the carts. You
mostly
had the
did, yeah.
magnificent job. I mean, the high-powered job of getting those carts from the parking lot and rolling them in.
Yes. All uphill, by the way.
Yeah.
The way the parking lot was slanted.
Yeah.
All the carts had to be pushed uphill. Like, it wasn't like Kroger where,
Yeah.
somebody would come out every now and then. This was like a full-time position at Harry's. Big parking lot, big
Yeah, it
farmer's
was
market.
huge.
Especially on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's like you had to have like at least 4 or 5 full-time what we call this buggy boys. And then, we had to do that.
Yeah. But you know what was interesting about that? I was shocked when you told me finally, this was a long time after you were no longer working there, that you said, Mom, I hated that job. I said, you hated that job? He said, yes. You never complained, not one time. I was like, any kid would have been, I hate going to this job. Why I got to go to this job? You never complained.
Yeah.
Why? Because we didn't have much money.
Yeah, because so Dave Chappelle made this joke in one of his stand-ups how he grew up like knowing too much about what was going on at the parent level of his household. And so it was the same way, like you you introduced me to that world early.
Yeah.
So, I kind of knew the inner workings of like how things got done and that we just didn't have money like that. And so, I was working because I knew I needed to provide for myself. I didn't want to put that pressure on you. So that's why I wanted to work. But I also knew that life was hard. Life was stressful. It was a struggle. And I wasn't going to put extra struggle on you by complaining about my job. You know what I'm saying? Because, you got your own, you had a lot going on anyway, just with life in general.
Yeah.
So I wasn't going to like pile on. So, yeah, no, I did the job. It was fun because I like the guys I work with. So shout out to JR, Jamal, all them dudes. And so Fridays, so this is one of the things I hated about the job. On Fridays, it wasn't as busy as Saturday and Sunday, but it was busier than Monday through Thursday. And so typically, Monday through Thursday, you can get away with having just one kid doing it full time. On Fridays, you needed 2. But nobody wanted to work Friday nights because all my friends are cool and they had, I was on one
They
like,
had a life.
Right. They had a life. I'm like, I got to get this money. And so I would have to work by myself on Friday because nobody else. So Jamal, who was scheduled to work with me on Friday, he just didn't show up. And that's another thing, like people that's, when you're scheduled, like I was very disciplined. Like
You were.
I'm scheduled to show up. I have to show up. There's no other choices, like unless I'm sick. And even then I didn't like calling in because I felt bad. Like, I wonder if they're going to believe me. And I was stressful. Like, so Jamal, he just didn't show up on Fridays. And then like, and the management didn't do anything about it. And so I would just be working by myself extra hard. And then, summertime working is hot. We're sweating, so I just didn't. Then I was playing football on top of that. I'm already tired, football practice, and I'm doing that. So yeah. But, for the most part, it wasn't terrible. It was just, like you said, like when you look back at something, it wasn't that bad. Like all we did was argue. We didn't rob a liquor store or, do anything crazy. It's just, I'm just pushing buggies. It wasn't a stressful job. It's just pushing buggies, so. Yeah,
I was shocked when you said I hated that job. I said, what?
Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing I want to mention is that I remember this is after we had moved here to Atlanta, and we were in that house on Hidden Valley Drive. And I remember, again, the money was scarce. And so we had to do a lot of stretching. And I remember not having, you all ate a lot. I had 2 big, growing, healthy, strong boys with big appetites. And I was like, I can pay the mortgage. I can pay the insurance. I cannot buy food. I can't keep them full. That's what I tell my friends. I can't feed them. Yeah. And I remember, do you remember when I used to put a sign in the kitchen saying the kitchen is closed? Y'all want to eat constantly. I bought a gallon of milk for you, a gallon of milk for Herman every week, and you all would just guzzle it. But anyway, I remember this one time we were pretty scarce, and I must have prepared, and you all ate, and there wasn't really enough left for me, or very little. I can't remember which one. And Herman enjoyed himself. Herman put his head down, and he didn't pick it up until he was full.
Yeah.
And you were like the man in the Bible. You know the Bible story where Jesus he heals the 10 and only one returned. I think something like that, to say thank you. You looked over at me and said, "Mom, do you want some of mine?" Because you noticed that there wasn't a lot of food. Herman was full. You were getting ready to eat, but you were looking to see what was left.
Yeah.
And then you wanted to share what you had. And so that's kind of who you are and who you've always been.
Yeah. Okay, so what's one piece of advice that you think every mother should know?
No matter what our financial situation is, or all the obstacles that we face in life, because as you said earlier, life is just going to be life, and it's just going to happen. All these twists and turns and unexpected things, they are going to happen. You can count on them. But our first investment, even before financial, and the financial is a requirement. It takes money to raise kids. But even more above and beyond that, you need to make an emotional investment in your children. You have to. It's just a requirement. And for me, which includes, by the way, valuing them, teaching them to value themselves. You value them not just by saying I love you or you're valuable, by the way that you treat them.
Okay.
How you interact with them tells them that they're valuable. That's critical. And you define them, because if you don't define them, the world will define them.
Okay.
Because they won't have an identity. If you don't identify who they are, the world will tell them who they are.
That's good.
But first and foremost, you need to get on your knees. I just prayed. I knew that I was aware of all the things that could happen to my two little boys, especially when I became a single parent. They'll happen in a double parent. It doesn't matter, because the world is the world. But I wanted my children to be okay, and the only hope, I knew the only hope I had was my faith in God. That's the only hope I had. I remember after the divorce from your dad, I immediately packed you all up and I took you to a therapist's office, and I said, "Here, make sure they're going to be okay."
Yeah,
It's like open the door and push you in and let me go wait in the lobby. Just make sure I was just almost in kids. I just want you to make sure my kids are going to be okay. If they need therapy, do it now, know.
Yeah.
And I remember she gently said to me, she brought you all out and sat you in the lobby area and gave you something to do. And I sat in her office, and she said, she said a lot of things that I don't remember. But the one thing she said was, "Miss Jones, if you're okay, they will be okay." And so I think the most important, take care of our mental, emotional health is important. But you have to have a personal, authentic relationship with Jesus Christ. You have to depend on God. There's just no other answer. Absolutely no other answer. I remember having you and Herman, come and kneel at my bedside at night, and we prayed together before you went upstairs to go to bed. And I prayed for you now, at that point rather, and I prayed for your futures. I even prayed for your future wives and your future children. And so I was dependent on God to do what it was impossible for me to do. And I realized that. I realized that I could not give you all that you needed. I could not be with you 24/7. I could not be with you to help you make the right decisions when you were tempted to make the wrong decisions, or to help you recover when you did make the wrong decisions. But I could pray.
Yeah.
I could pray. And so the best advice is to give your heart, as a parent to another parent, give your heart to the Lord and live the life that He's called you to live, and then pray for your children and live that life in front of them, and to talk to them so that they will end up making that same decision, or realizing how important that decision is. And kids have a honing device. They can tell whether you just going to church, going through the motions, or if you really have a relationship with God. And they may not say anything, but they are watching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So what is something that you wish that you would have done different?
Oh, gosh. I was hoping you wouldn't ask me that.
We got to, get to the nitty gritty.
Digging deep now.
Dig deep.
Brandon, and you and I have talked about a lot of this over the years. I have so many regrets, such that I am thankful that I have a relationship with you that's authentic, that's filled with love, that's filled with mercy and grace and forgiveness. And I had that relationship with Herman. Herman and I used to butt heads like crazy for so many years. And but I came to understand him, and he came to love, forgive, and help me. And I told you one time, for example, and you might have to ask me your question again because I really want to answer it. But I want to say this about Herman. Herman was just, he was really genuine, and he seemed complicated at the time, but he really wasn't. He was really just black and white. He was really a black and white kind of kid. Mom, this is right. Mom, this is wrong. Mom, this is good. Mom, this is bad. There were not a whole lot of gray areas to Herman. But I remember we had such a hard time with communication. And I thought, because I was the mother, that you just need to listen to me. After all, I'm the mother. I've got all this wisdom and knowledge and experience. All you have to do for your life to go well is to listen to me.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really compelling argument. But to Herman, it's like, Mom, that's just not enough. You need to listen to me too. I don't have to listen. I gave you life. So that's all I have to do. I gave you life, and that's all I have to do. But anyway, so we went through that battle for a long time, years. And I remember something he told me that has changed me to this day. He said, Mom, and he always talked in a calm, respectful way. He said, Mom, you don't listen. You just wait to talk.
Gut punch.
Gut punch. I couldn't even, I'm pretty good at arguing back.
Yeah.
I don't think I had much to say after that. First of all, how are you going to argue with that? He didn't say it in a disrespectful way. He was always respectful, and it was true. I'm just thinking about, and we do that when we're in a relationship, whatever the relationship is. We think about what we want to say when that other person finally shuts up. That's not listening.
Yeah.
And Herman taught me that I needed to learn to listen, and because people want to be heard. And so that's what I learned from him. Now ask me that question again.
Okay, what's something you wish you would have done differently as a parent?
I think I was probably trying to avoid that. Okay, what I don't know how to answer that except to say this. Your dad and I divorced. And when I married him, I think one of the reasons was all my friends were getting married, and I felt pressure. I felt like everybody's getting married. I need to get married. It wasn't the only reason, but that was huge. It drove me pretty hard, and so it could have been. Even my mom felt like your dad was a good man, but it wasn't the right time. She said that. She even said that right before she passed away. And so, but I was in a hurry. I don't know if he was in a hurry. I think he was kind of in a hurry too, but I just remember my anxiety about it because I thought I was 27 and I thought, oh, I'm getting old. I don't, and all my friends are getting married. But anyway, the timing is important.
Yeah.
Timing, and most of us throughout our lives, we get anxious about things that we want to do or we think we want to do. But what I regret is that you and Herman had to endure a broken home. That was devastating for all of us, but especially for the two of you. It was devastating, and I hurt today thinking about all the things that you all had to go through as a result of your family, your mom and dad breaking up. I think we get selfish. I think I was selfish. I think, sometimes you can let your own pain drive your decision more than considering the pain of your children. Because your children, you can't feel their pain. They may not be crying and acting out, but they're suffering in silence. And what I learned was afterwards how much pain you all were in or how much you lost. It's like a death. You grieve because there's a loss. And because of our decisions, it hurt you and Herman for years and years to come. I mean, we've all had to do some work on ourselves to, like Humpty Dumpty, put ourselves back together again. Actually, The truth is to allow God to put us back together. It's the real truth. So I regret that. I will never feel like, well, it just didn't work and it's okay. Or sometimes people are just not, all the things we do to justify that very difficult, painful decision.
Right.
I'm not going to ever do that because perhaps I could have done something different at the time. But I cannot say that was a decision that I'm proud of or I'm glad I made because it hurt my children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say as a side note to that, through the divorce, you and Dad, you guys never pitted us against the other parent. Like Dad never did it. You never did it. So, even though you guys didn't work out, you guys put us and our emotions first, after all that happened to make sure okay, this is the situation we're in. Let's make sure that despite what our feelings are for each other, we're going to make sure that the kids know that I knew that you love me from you. I also knew that from Dad that you loved me and vice versa. You never made it look like, and he never made it look like the other parent loved us less or, you know what I'm saying? Or blamed well, he's the reason or she's the, you know what I'm saying? So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I learned from my mom and from Aunt Kat. I remember a specific conversation I had with your Aunt Catherine who warned me about that. Because, when a couple is going through divorce, there's a lot of emotion. Yeah. So, and a lot of anger and a lot of this or that and a lot of blame to go around. Oh, yeah. So it's really convenient to say, well, your dad and your dad. And so she said, don't ever speak negatively about their dad to them because you will hurt them. When she told me that, I heeded her advice. So anytime I needed to vent, I'd vent to my friends, but I never wanted to do it with you or Herman because he and I both wanted to protect you all as best we could under those circumstances.
Okay. All right. So what's something that you would say that you're really proud of in how you raised me and Herman?
I'm proud of Herman was an incredible young man. He was gifted. He was talented. He loved God. He was authentic. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better human being that happened to be my son. And to hear him play his viola, it just warmed my heart. And I read a book the other day. I mentioned it to you. It was talking about all these 50 instruments. And when he first came home saying he wanted to play the viola, I said, the what?
Yeah.
No, I'm not getting a viola. I didn't even know what it was.
Yeah.
I knew a violin, but I didn't know viola.
Right,
But
right.
anyway, he educated me, and I said he's going to put it down and da-da-da-da. But he didn't. And then I learned later, recently, that the viola is actually more difficult to play than the violin.
Okay.
So Herman was an extremely low-key, gifted young man. He didn't go around saying, look what I can do. And even when he played, do you know how performers perform? He just played. He wasn't trying to call any additional attention to himself.
Yeah.
He just played.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have to go to jail to get you all out. I didn't have to ever post bail. Or if I had to go up to the school, it might have been because you didn't do your homework. Your grades were dropping here. But I never had any serious problems with you, either of you. And then you were just this, you were this people person, as I explained earlier. And you had this heart for people. You had this leadership quality that I saw even when you were a little boy. And people would just gravitate toward you. And the thing that I like and I didn't like, Brandon, is because you were such a source of, you were the protector. You've always been a defender. You've been especially for a man who should be a nurturer. They're not nurturers like women are, but you nurture. And you never seem to feel like it threatened your masculinity. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because some men feel like, or boys even, they got to be hard. They got to be hard, and maybe that's part of your story too. But if I was sad or if I was troubled, you would notice. And Herman, not so much. Just like the incident with the food, it's like, wait a minute, now she doesn't have anything to eat. So your antennas are always up as to what people need, and you just go for it. But you've grown up to be an incredible young man and a father. My father wasn't in the picture, and sometimes I look at you with your 4 children, and I wish I had a father like that.
Oh.
I do. You're my son, and I'm thinking, had I only had a father like that. But what comes to mind, I could say so many things, but what comes to mind, because this is recent, and I hope you show your podcast audience the clip where you baptized your own daughter.
Yeah.
Your children, because of how you were raised, because of how I was raised, how my mom was raised, Chrisette gave her life to the Lord, and she made a public acknowledgement of that by taking a class so she would understand it and then being baptized last Saturday night. Now, I thought when I went, one of the staff ministers was going to do it, and that was touching enough, just thinking about that. But when I realized and when I saw you walk into that pool with Chrisette to baptize your daughter, Brandon, I hope that you and Chrisette and your family and the world understands the beauty and the impact of that moment, those few seconds that you were together in that pool. She will never forget that moment, that she was baptized. She knows what it means, but mostly my dad baptized me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for being the man of faith, the man of God. You're not perfect. You and I have talked about this. I don't want anybody to think that. But you are a repentant man, and which means that when you realize that you're going down the wrong track, the Spirit of God within you will convict you and convince you and bring you back, and you will seek him so that you can continue to live a life that pleases him. So for me, as your mom, I sit back and I watch that happen, and I'm just so excited, so pleased, and so proud, and so blessed to be called mom. Do you know that when I've had many titles throughout my life, you know that, worn many hats, but there's no title as precious to me as mom. So when you call me mom, it almost brings tears to my eyes because that's the most exciting position that I have. Don't cry.
I'm not crying.
I might cry.
I mean, I got the tissue right here. Just
Oh, you got
in
the
case.
tissue? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I got close, but I'm good.
Yeah.
All right. So something more lighthearted.
Okay.
What's the funniest parenting moment that you've had?
I thought you asked me
Did
that.
I ask you that already?
Funniest parenting moment. I think it was when, because I think it was when I stopped in the middle of the street.
Okay.
Because that was a really good discipline there. That
Okay.
was, this is a parenting strategy that should be in the rule books for parenting. That when you have two kids fighting in the back seat, the answer is don't pull over, don't go to the left, don't go to the right. Just screech on the brakes. Screech, and you got to come to a hard stop, so it kind of makes them jerk in the back, other than this seatbelt holding them in place, and say two words: "Get out."
Now I got to put a disclaimer on this video so I don't get sued because somebody went to jail. Somebody's kid got hit by a car. All right. Okay. Here's another question.
Okay.
If your life was a movie, what actress would play you?
Well, let's see. I like Viola Davis because she was the king woman. I like her strength.
Okay.
I like Angela Bassett.
That's what I thought you was going to say. Angela Bassett.
Yeah, she came to mind first, and I thought about the king woman, her strength. But I like Angela Bassett. She could play me.
Okay.
I like that. She's a woman who overcame severe adversity to be her own woman, to come. And it took a long time because she was beat up, not just physically, but she was beat up emotionally. And that's been my story. And it has taken me a long time to evolve into this person who likes herself, because I started from a person that, because of things that happened to me, to hate myself, loathe myself, not value myself. And so it's been a very long journey. And then there were abuses, not just physical, but emotional abuses that take a toll. But like her, in that I Can Team, what's the name of it? Anyway,
I think it's called I Can Tina.
Was it played? Okay.
Tina
Anyway,
Turner.
she played Tina Turner. She overcame and became her own woman. It was a long journey, as it has been for me, but it's a story of overcoming, in spite of all that crazy stuff that happened growing up. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So what does Mother's Day mean to you?
A celebration
Yeah.
of the hat and the title and the crown that says mom.
Yeah.
Because I was just telling you how much I love that title. And now, see my shirt? I add Grammy.
Yeah.
Have all my 5 grandchildren are on my shirt that my son designed. Thank you, Brandon.
You're welcome.
It's very unique to describe their personalities. But Mother's Day is celebrating the love that I have for my children and the love that my children have for me, and just celebrating that day. I'm even celebrating Herman is still my son. He's not with me. He is not with me. He's with God, but I'm celebrating that God gifted me with him as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what Mother's Day. Now, you remember our tradition, how our tradition started? Because remember, now see, Mother's Day is a day where everybody wants to go out. They don't go out like that on Father's Day. All the restaurants are crowded, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Used to be even more so than maybe today. Maybe because there's more restaurants. But anyway,
Yeah.
I remember when we went to, I think it was Papa Do's, our last attempt. And I think it was just the 3 of us, actually. And they say something like, Miss Jones, it's going to be about an hour and a half before you get a table. Well, I can do that. I can sit outside. I can, read a book. I can enjoy the weather. But 2 little boys and an hour and a half wait, So we decided, and I don't remember how I got to Dave and Buster's. I don't know if it was in the area. And I just decided, well, let's just go play some games.
I think it was, so if we were living in Duluth on Fairway, there was that Dave and Buster's that used to be right there off Satellite Boulevard.
Oh, yes.
So that was right down the street.
Okay. So we went to Dave and Buster's. I had no knowledge about their restaurant. I was going there because I can't take the torture of trying to wait for a table with 2 active little boys.
Yeah.
And so we went there, we ate, and the food surprisingly was good. And then we played.
Yeah.
Do you remember how old you are? Were you in elementary or middle school?
I think middle. I think I was in middle.
Okay.
So we weren't young, but
Okay.
we also weren't trying to wait on no table. And so I think,
Right.
so we ate, and then I think the game we played was the Daytona 500, the race car game.
Yes.
And so that was kind of like our thing. Like
Yeah.
so every
the 3
Mother's
of us.
Day,
Yeah.
Dave and because nobody goes to Dave and Buster's on
Nobody
Mother's
goes.
Day, so it's you go walk right in, immediately get a table. The food is good. That decision shaped a lot of like my thinking in life.
Really?
Yeah, because even with Valentine's Day, like me and Xanta, like we're not going to try to go to a restaurant on Valentine's Day. We'll just pick another day because it's like restaurants are super crowded.
Right.
The wait staff is stressed out. It's like, why are we doing this?
Right.
And this man-made holiday, it's just because, whatever. But so it's like, it helped me to become more of a practical thinker. And I was like, okay, we're eating food. We're having a good time. We get to avoid all the stress and the wait that everybody else has to go through, and we get to play video games. And all 3 of us had fun. It wasn't like this is just for y'all here, this video games.
Yeah.
Like you were having fun.
Oh yeah.
And we were all very competitive.
We were.
And so I think that morphed year after year. We played more games, but we made sure we play Daytona 500.
Yeah, but the first year we only played the race cars. We didn't have a lot of money, so it's like we only playing this one game.
Right.
But it was so much fun, and I beat you all a couple of times.
Maybe
I did.
I don't remember, but
I know you don't remember.
You had
Selective
more driving experience at the time, so yeah.
Yeah, we were all 3 competitive, but that became a tradition, and now we do it with my grandchildren.
Right, and they want to play all the games.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We can't get away with we're only doing the race cars.
Right. No, we got to be there all day now, but it's still it still works out.
Yeah, it
there's
does.
people there now.
Yeah.
But it's still you don't have to make reservations.
Right.
In fact, I don't even know. We should put this out. We're giving all our secrets away.
Oh yeah, nobody go to Dave and Buster's, please.
Yeah, the food is disgusting. Don't do it.
Disgusting. That salmon that I order every time.
Oh, yuck.
Don't eat that.
I remember you got sick when you ate it that one time.
Yeah.
In fact, every time you ordered the same salmon, you got sick. And you just
Every
keep ordering
year,
it.
and I just keep ordering it.
Yeah.
That's a really good salmon.
Yeah. Okay. What's the best Mother's Day gift that you ever received?
Well, you know that I like cards.
Yeah.
I brought some cards. Give me a second.
Oh boy.
I'm only going to share a couple. I have a whole bag full. Okay, first of all, that's not a Mother's Day card, but this is, I was talking about the, when we used to do the Peachtree Road Race.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm only going to share a couple of these. This one,
Oh boy.
best mom ever. What year did she give? See, I usually put the year on it because I want to remember.
Oh.
Okay, I'm only going to read a couple, I promise. This one opens up. It's a pop-up. You remember that? Kinda?
Kind of.
Okay, I lied. There are 3 big words. When you said best mom ever, you said I lied. Happy Mother's Day, Mom. Thank you for everything you do and have done to prepare me for this world, from teaching me what it means to be a man to introducing me to God. Though we have our struggles sometimes, my love for you is real. BJ. I only have a couple.
Okay.
This one's from Herman. Beautiful day, wonderful woman. This is a birthday card, but it's okay. Wishing you love today, a day when all the love you've given through the years comes back to warm your heart. Wishing you peace, the chance to relax and rest and do what's best for you. Wishing you joy, a day of true contentment and happiness with you at the center. Wishing you a day that is blessed, because that's how you make us feel all year long. Hope you feel surrounded by love. Happy birthday, love, Herman. Now, this is one of my favorites. This is the last one, then I'm going to read a poem I wrote that you all inspired.
Okay.
This is Happy Mother's Day last year. Mom, you are so very special. A woman who honors the Lord deserves to be praised. Proverbs 31:30. You are a wonderful creation designed in the heart of God, fashioned by his loving hands, given to our family as his amazing gift. You make such a difference just by being you. Thank you for your prayers, your words, and every moment you've selflessly given to our family. You are appreciated and so very loved. Happy Mother's Day. I'm here for you. I'll always be here for you, and I'll always love you. Brandon. Now I want to share one last thing.
Okay.
See, I have a lot, but see, I'm disciplined.
You are. Good job.
So I like writing poetry, as you know.
Yes.
And I'm usually inspired by whatever is happening in my life that makes words come to my mind. Mm-hmm. So many, many, many years ago, I think we were living in Lawrenceville on Hidden Valley Drive. Mm-hmm. So that was maybe 88 or 1990. Mm-hmm. So here's the name of this. I haven't read this since I don't know how long. How does a single black woman raise a strong black man? She learns to tie ties and cut hair. She prays a lot. Becomes less emotional and more factual. She prays a lot. Bypasses dreams, ignores bowls. Because, never could do the bowl hair. I wanted to do that. I got grandchildren, did it for a little while. Mm-hmm. Learns to arm wrestle and win sometimes. She prays a lot. Cuts the cord, allows him to grow. She prays a lot. Tries to play football, basketball, and catch. She prays a lot. Learns that there's no such thing as a single portion. She prays a lot. Listens and admits her frailties. She prays a lot. Creates an atmosphere for communication. She prays a lot. Allows him to make mistakes and fall. She prays a lot. Grits her teeth and zips her lips. She prays a lot. Recognizes his hidden tears and wipes them. She prays a lot. Teaches him to drive while trying not to yell. She prays a lot. Gets taken for granted and accepts rejection. She prays a lot. Encourages him to fight his battles, then nurses his wounds. She prays a lot. Maintains her femininity, though surrounded by masculinity. She prays a lot. Exudes toughness, strength, and boldness. She prays a lot. Demonstrates gentleness and kindness. She prays a lot. Laughs often, cries all night long. She prays a lot. Intercedes with the strength of two. She prays a lot. Learns to depend on while being independent. She prays a lot. Learns how to stretch nickels to quarters. She prays a lot. Keeps him in the presence of strong black men. She prays a lot. Recognizes God the Father as the ultimate role model and guide. She prays a lot. Seeks wisdom, exercises faith, resists discouragement, and prays for strength. She prays a lot. Thank you.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
All right. So
You didn't ask for that, but I just thought.
I didn't, but
Thank you for letting me
you're my guest.
share my poetry.
Yeah. So before we end, is there anything else that you wanted to add to the?
I have a question.
Okay.
So now that we're at this point in your life, you got your own family, your own beautiful family, and and I'm at the point where I've taken care of you. Now the tables are turning a bit, and all the other things that are going on in your life that you're involved with. How can I be a better mom, or a more effective mom, or a more impactful mom for you at this specific time in your life?
Wow, that's a great question. So I'll say one of the things that you do very well that helps out a lot, you help to fill in some of the gaps that I have when I'm raising my kids. And so because you kind of have like a broader perspective and more experience, you're able to watch me and Xanta. You come in, when you hang out with the kids or we have you over, you're always very intentional about helping to plant seeds, really good seeds in them. And I see you do it all the time. And I do notice it. So
Really?
Yes, I notice it every time you do it, actually. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Because they do, they need that affirmation. They love you a lot. So that's, because raising kids is hard, and I'm doing it in a 2-parent household, and it's still hard. So I know it was difficult for you. But yeah, that's helpful. So I think over the years, we've had growing pains, and in a lot of, in the last, a bunch of, number of years. So I think one of the things that we've done and that I want us to continue to do is to always communicate our true feelings. I need to know what you're feeling, whether it's good or bad, because it's more stressful for me if I don't know and I think that there's something going on that you're not telling me. And I know you've asked the same for me. So I think since we've started opening up to each other more in certain things, we've been able to resolve issues quicker and to be able to understand each other. 'Cause sometimes it might be a misunderstanding, a miscommunication, or something that's skewed, and then we're able to fix it, or at least put it in its proper place, so then we can properly deal with it. And so that's actually taken a lot off my plate.
Yeah.
And so I think that's probably the main thing, just for us to continue. I need to know how you're truly feeling about something. When we have discussions and these type of things, I just want to know, and that helps me because I'm a problem solver, like a lot of men are. I need to be able to help solve these problems, and so that's what helps me do that. So,
Okay.
yep.
That's helpful. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yep. I just need you to be. I know that men are typically problem solvers. I get that. But I want you to rest sometimes. If there's one thing I would ask of you that you're not doing that I hope you would do more of, is to rest. And not just sleep, but to rest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will try to do that.
Okay.
I will try to do that.
Got it.
Cool. Well, this is great, Mom.
Thank you for having me.
I'm glad we're finally able to get you here.
Yeah.
I think this is a really good discussion. Hopefully, it blesses people who
Hope so.
who watch it.
Yes.
Would you like to promote your own podcast?
Wow, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
So I started a podcast not long after Herman passed away. Herman passed away January of this year, and somehow the Lord laid it on my heart to start this podcast. It seems strange to me, the timing, and I'm struggling to kind of get all the kinks worked out, but I'm really enjoying it. But the name of the podcast is Get Real with Alexis. And so you can find me on YouTube at Get Real with Alexis, and I hope you'll go and check out the episodes that I've posted so far, and I'll have more coming. And leave and share, like, subscribe, and leave comments so that my content is something that you want and need to hear, because I like the conversation that we just had, our personalities. And if you've listened to the Get Busy podcast, you know that they are very authentic in their discussions. Like, that's how we are. We're going to tell you things or say things or talk about things that are not necessarily politically correct. We're just going to be honest with you about our feelings, about our struggles, about what we think, because life be life, and then we want to deal with real life issues. So please check me out. Get Real with Alexis, and I'm his mom. Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day, everybody. Have a good one. Love y'all.
Bye-bye.
Peace.